Good morning, everyone, or whatever time you're listening to this. Welcome to my podcast, True Crime with Amanda. This is the weekly podcast episode that will also be, I think, in video form on YouTube, but we will see. I want to say that my first audio podcast was definitely a learning curve, which a lot of this is. So thank you as you guys bear with me. You always see these great YouTubers and podcasters that it goes so smooth. And maybe one day I'll get there. Maybe I won't. But thanks for bearing with me as we go through this process. I want to jump right into some true crime cases from this past week. It's going to be a quick one. I am recording this on Sunday, August 18th. So I just went down and met my son's father in Delaware and brought him back to New York. So yesterday was a long day and I want to go hang out with my son who's been gone for 6 weeks. So we're just going to bust this out very quick. I just don't want to get behind on Sarah Boone because we all know her trial is coming and I'm waiting on it. I'm here for justice for Jorge. But remember, she is innocent until proven guilty. But let's jump right into the state of Florida versus Sarah Boone. A quick recap for those who aren't familiar with this case. She is charged with the second-degree murder of her boyfriend, 42-year-old Jorge Torres Jr., who suffocated to death after she left him zipped up in a suitcase overnight. She was in court again, where she complained she was not prepared for the court hearing because she didn't receive some items that have not made it through her by way of the Postal Service. It seems like Sarah thinks that there has to be a faster way for this to be done because it would be easier for her. But she's in jail for murder. People really don't get too many things tailored to them the way they would like them to while they're in jail or even prison. Even if you're innocent until proven guilty, you just don't have access to a lot of things that you would like to. Also, in a lot of these situations, there needs to be some sort of record that things were sent to her, either via mail or if they were uploaded to the court. She doesn't have the ability to access the court files via the internet as of yet, so she can only rely on the mail or if something is handed to her while she's in court. First argument in the hearing was the motion to not allow the media in her September 3rd hearing. At the September 3rd hearing, she'll be reviewing all the evidence in the case against her, and she's convinced that the media does not have a right to be there because according to her, she wants one card to play at her trial, which to me honestly doesn't really make much sense because the media has nothing to do with what card she should be playing at her trial. I get that she finds it annoying that they're always there, but that has to do with what happened in her case, unfortunately. She needs to worry more, in my opinion, about what case she's going to be presenting at trial rather than cards to play when she gets there that the media isn't aware of. This case is out of Florida too, which is one of the states with the most access to the court, such as meetings are required to be held in public according to the Sunshine Law or the Sunshine Act. I can't remember which two. And this also includes discovery that is filed. The public has access to it. So most of the information that she wants withheld is actually already out there. A lawyer from what I believe was the Miami Herald argued against this closed meeting, and the court would eventually deny this motion, citing that it is open to the public. However, the prosecution would offer Sarah the option to view the evidence at the Orange County Jail with the prosecution and, of course, herself there without the media. And, of course, this is the option that appears to be happening now. Sarah went with this and thought this was a good idea, but the judge decided to keep the September 3rd hearing just in case something does not go as planned in the Orange County Jail meeting, and then they can do the evidence hearing in court on September 3rd, open to the public. Next, the discussion of clothing came up as Sarah has been in contact, I guess, with the public defender's office to obtain clothing for her trial. The court brought to Sarah's attention that if she went with the skirt, which it did seem like she was leaning towards this originally, then the jury would be able to see some sort of restraint that she's wearing or the cuff. It's supposed to be covered by pant leg. I mean, they can't make invisible cuffs. So this is something that she'll have to decide. In the last hearing, they discussed that it is her right to not have the jury see those, but we'll see what she goes with. She doesn't have to decide, like I said, until it gets closer to her trial date. But the judge just wanted to make her aware of this so that if she went with that option, she was knowingly choosing to do so. The court went on to address Sarah's letter that she sent to the prison, I guess it was, requesting additional items, time, or space to make her self-representation easier. On Zoom or whatever software they use, there was also, I believe it was the head of the female jail there to discuss the options that could take place because the judge cannot force the jail to do anything. I mean, unless it's against Sarah's rights or anything like that, but they can't enforce day-to-day activities and because a lot of these things that Sarah's asking are safety concerns and it's not just open to every person that's in that jail system right now. So first was additional time that was addressed. Of course, Sarah wants more time with the laptop to be able to review her discovery. She says the 8 to 4 p.m. is just crazy because it just goes and sits in there and she could have more time with it. This was approved. It looks like she'll get some time after eating and all that type of activities are conducted for the night from like 8 to 10 on Sunday through Thursday and then like 8 to 11 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays, basically the weekend nights. Discussed next was Sarah's ability to sit in the classroom to review her discoveries. She wanted privacy, but this was denied according to the jail representative. Basically, this is used by just more than what Sarah sees, and it's a safety concern. The corrections officer can't watch her and ensure the safety of her and the other personnel in the jail at the same time. So that was denied, but they did give her a different option to relocate her to her own cell, basically, where she would have the complete privacy to review her case as she desired. It didn't seem like this was something that she was too keen on, as it would also seclude her during those times she wasn't reviewing her cases. She'd basically just be in a cell by herself in a different area of the prison where she could review everything in a quiet manner, and she wouldn't have the safety issues because she wouldn't need to be guarded 24/7 if she's out like in the classroom. Sarah also requested access to internet on her computer. I guess it's just a basic laptop, but this was denied. The jail just basically said that that's not something that they can do. According to the jail's lawyer, who is also there, they basically just have to give them like paper and pencil. Like above and beyond is something that they are not required to do. I'm not really sure anything about that. I'm not a lawyer. I do understand that jail cannot monitor the access to certain websites as closely as it would like to if someone was using the internet, especially Sarah Boone. I'm sure she'd be trying to email the judge every day. She also requested access to a phone where she could make private phone calls, non-collect calls, but this was denied. Again, I'm not sure it's something that the jail can actually sit there and monitor her. Plus, these are conversations, like, she's a lawyer, so they really shouldn't be. Someone sitting there listening to her, I'm sure she'd complain about that. But at the same time, they can't just let her have untethered access to a phone. I don't think that would go well. Who knows who she'd be calling, how long she's on the phone. What if she calls these people like over and over and over again? Sarah has this problem with, if she doesn't get the answer she wants, she keeps addressing it as if it'll change. Girl, it's not. It's not going to change. You're not getting a lawyer. This is not working out in your favor anymore. You cannot just bully your way through, poke, poke, poke until you get what you want. But I do understand that she can't just call expert witnesses, collect. Like, no one's going to accept her phone call and pay for those charges, especially because they don't even know if they're going to be hired. But I don't understand maybe if the JAC could provide her with a phone card to use, so there's money on it. She can only use this much. She has to request more. She has to show logs what she's doing, things of that nature. But it's hard because her trial's so soon that a lot of this stuff doesn't have time to be implemented, I'm sure. She also was denied access to headphones or earbuds that she requested so she could listen to her discovery without those around her hearing. I'm sure she doesn't want anyone hearing how much of a bitch she was to her boyfriend as he was in a suitcase saying he couldn't breathe. But this was denied by the jail. As for safety concerns, I'm sure you can see that they can't give out headphones. And I guess, again, with a USB, that metal can be changed into something that could be hazardous to other prisoners, I would assume. So she's also not allowed to keep her USB drives at her phone. Also, another thing that was requested by Sarah was a Word document type thing be put on her computer, like Word, so she could type up her emotions. However, this was denied. I'm sure that this is not something that they can just throw on a computer. Also, once she wrote this up, she would need a printer to print it from, and then next thing you know, she's probably asking to print 100 different things. And I feel like if she can't do that, if she's given this little access, that would be the next problem. So the Word document request was denied as well. Although I'm sure it does suck handwriting them. Not to be an asshole, what else is she doing? Then, right before she left, she handed the judge a motion that she wanted to file requesting money to pay for a neurosurgeon expert witness as part of her defense. When asked, the state really had no opinion on this motion. They said that it was between the court and Sarah, and of course, JAC, which is the ones that will be paying for it. So the judge said that a formal hearing needed to be done so JAC could be present. I'm sure that'll happen sooner than later because all this needs to be in a line for Sarah's motions that need to be filed prior to the trial. And again, her trial is starting October 7th, I believe it is right now. It looks like he also extended it. It was only 2 weeks. Now it's 3. I'm sure because he knows how difficult Sarah is that he wanted to give that additional time. Motions that need to understand his name, but Alex Murdaugh, because again, he's in the news. It seems like he just can't stay out of it. It appears that the South Carolina Supreme Court agreed to hear Murdaugh's motion regarding his appeal for a new trial. Basically, as I'm sure everybody in the true crime community knows who he is and what happened, but Alex Murdaugh was convicted. The murder and his 22-year-old son, Paul. Maggie and Paul were found deceased on the family's Moselle property back on June 7th, 2021 by Alex, and he would eventually be charged with murder. Now, this murder arrest would come shortly on the heels of discovery and the arrest that he stole millions and millions of dollars from people, including those in his law firm. I don't want to get too deep into this because we all know what happened at the trial, and we also all know that there was a hearing back in January 2024 with members of the jury that convicted him because there were allegations of misconduct done by the Colleton County Clerk of Court, Becky Hill. Sure, this has been heard of by everybody. This is ongoing. During that hearing that took place about 6 months ago, former South Carolina Justice Jean Toll interviewed each jury member. They were out of camera view, but we were able to hear it all. And then Becky Hill, she got on the stand too. I couldn't believe it. But Judge Toll would rule against Murdaugh's motion, saying that although Becky Hill royally messed up, it did not grant a new trial. So now the Supreme Court of South Carolina agreed to hear this motion for the new trial due to jury tampering. And I'm really interested to see how they rule because although no part of me wants him to have a new trial, and I think that he deserves to be in prison, with the fuckery that Miss Becky Hill did, it's really hard to believe that one won't be granted. It's just kind of crazy to think of everything that she was involved in. Not necessarily that it would change the outcome, but how do you know? We got to do better than this. It's got to be fair for one person, even though everybody knows that he's a piece of shit. It's got to be fair for the people we don't like and the people we like. It's not a justice system if it's not. But I'm no lawyer. I'm no court clerk. I'm nothing in that field. So this is just my own opinion on it. I just would like to see better overall. There has been no date offered when they will hear this appeal, but once that takes place, I will keep you guys updated. And that's all I have today. I just really wanted to get in and cover the Sarah Boone case because once that gets behind, hard to get back caught up. I've been following her case she's been in jail for 4 years now, so shortly after. But I had to mention Murdaugh as well because he is always in the news. Make sure to follow the podcast for weekly updates that are released on any true crime news happening that week. Stay safe out there. The world can be an ugly place.